What's good? What's good? We are back. One and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. Right now, we are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as usual. Audio version will be downloaded later and will be uploaded to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Stitcher, Slacker, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and much, much more. As y'all know, it's fight week for all you bare knuckle fans out there. BKFC fight week in Hollywood, Florida, July 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you got Amazon Prime, you can actually watch it on there, or you could watch it on Fubo Sports, or you could watch it on BKFC app if you have that as well. We got a guest coming on here shortly. We'll give her a little bit of time to click on and whatnot, and then we'll introduce her. But yeah, I can't wait to just. You got Perdomo versus Adams. I'm really anticipating that. Excited to see how that one definitely goes. I'll check my Instagram live. Make sure. I know Instagram's been having issues lately and whatnot, from what they said on my StreamYard. So I want to make sure everything's copacetic, everything's working. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Yep, everything seems to be working. Guest should be coming on here real soon. I know she said she had an hour in between work, if I'm not mistaken, so we ain't gonna take up too much of her time. But yeah, you still got BKFC Fight Night in Philly. That's coming up July 25th. You still got BKFC 79 in Sturgis August 2nd, which is where our guest will be fighting at. And that's probably going to be really packed out. Last time it was a lot of people out there. Of course, Sturgis brings a lot of people, so that's a really good time to do a bare knuckle fight event. And I know the bikers definitely are into bare knuckle fight. The MC, as they call it, is into bare knuckle fighting. Let's make sure I guess is good. Where we at? 701. Should be coming on here shortly. Let's see. Let me text her real quick. All right. So I guess I'll go over this Florida card until she clicks on. I mean, of course, you got Leonardo Perdomo versus Arnold Adams. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't see nobody beating Perdomo anytime soon. And if Adams beats Perdomo, I mean, wow, that's gonna be a shocker and a setback for Perdomo, I would say. You got G Perez versus Andrew Strode for the men's flyweight title championship bout. That's gonna be interesting. Cutman Perez is 5-1, Strode 3-0. I don't know. I'm not even gonna pick a side on that one. I have no idea who's possibly gonna win that one. Shouts out to my man David Simpson for tuning in. Shouts out to Boxer Tricks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Starting to get some people coming in on Instagram as well as the Facebook and the YouTube. You got Brian El Gallo Duran versus Robbie Peralta. Seems like that's gonna be a good one to me. Justin Ibarola versus Robert Armas, who I just recently interviewed. Go check out that interview on Paul Pickett Podcast. That's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, if Robert Armas wins this one, he would have beat Chris Garcia last fight, and then Justin Ibarola this fight. That should possibly get him a title shot, man. Possibly get him a title shot. You just beat two ranked guys back to back if you beat Justin. You got Howard H.D. Davis fighting Draco Rodriguez. Draco's 2-0, looking to go 3-0. Of course, Howard Davis, he got 11 bare knuckle fights under his belt, 7-3-1. Francesco Ricci, who I interviewed recently as well. Go check out that interview, Paul Pickett podcast. He's 6-2, looking to go to 7-2, and you got Dallas Davidson trying to get over the 500, the 50% 500 mark. He's 3-3 right now. Christine Vicens versus Sarah Click. I mean, I can't see Christine Vicens losing this fight. I mean, she did lose to Christine Faria last fight, but I mean, who doesn't lose to Christine Faria? And I think just how tough she fought her is going to make it harder on the rest of her competition going forward. You got Steve Tomahawk Townsend versus Keith Richardson, not Keith the Rockstar Richardson, but Keith the Officer Richardson. And go check out the interview I did recently with Steve Tomahawk Townsend as well. He's 4-4, looking to go to 5-4. Keith Richardson's 2-1. So with a win, he'll be at 3-1. Then you got Gaston Reno versus Milton Voltaire. Gaston's 1-0 up, and Milton's 0-0. All right, so we about to bring on our guest. She started in MMA. She's 1-0 in BKFC. From what I can see, 4-1 in bare knuckle. About to fight BKFC 79, the Buffalo Chip, Sturgis, South Dakota, August 2nd, which starts 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And she will be fighting Taylor Starlin. Let's bring on the one and only Shelby Boom Boom Cannon. Shelby, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. This is fun. I didn't know this was going to be live until yesterday when I saw your post.
Yeah, I was pre-recording at first, but then I decided it was time to start going live because I got so many clips out there, and I think people kind of pretty much catching on to what I'm doing. So I want to start here. First interview, I just like to kind of get to know the fighter, some of the past things and stuff like that. So you started in MMA, correct?
Yes, yep.
Okay, now how'd you decide to go into MMA?
So I did a couple kickboxing fights, and my coach at the time, I guess my style, he just thought it would be a good fit for
Mm-hmm.
MMA. And that's just kind of what happened. And I was 115 pounds in my weight
Yeah.
division. They needed some people, so he just kind of signed me up, and we showed up and lost a few, won a few, and you know, it's kind of short lived. Yeah, I didn't really start MMA until I think I was 27. So
Okay.
yeah, I didn't grow up doing mixed martial arts or kickboxing, or I mean, I wasn't in wrestling, didn't do sports. Uh, so I think I just ended up going to the gym, just to be at the gym, and then it just kind of happened. It was kind of just one of those opportunities you just say yes to. You keep saying yes, and then doors keep opening. You keep walking through them, and and here we are.
Now, why'd you decide to transition from MMA to bare knuckle? I'm pretty sure your husband and your family at first was like, "This is crazy."
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I think that's everybody's family's probably first impression of bare knuckle, like but for me, it was an age thing. I was like 30 years old, and
Okay.
I was 31, and just my knees take an impact with wrestling and the jujitsu, and like the takedowns. I could feel it a little bit on my body, and I love stand up. I love boxing. Love striking. So with the opportunity with bare knuckle, like it just coming out in 2020, getting real big, kind of
Mhm.
watching some of the MMA stars going big in bare
Yeah.
knuckle. I just wanted to be a part of the growth of bare knuckle. It just seemed like it was just kind of like a no brainer, like, of course I want to be a part of bare knuckle. Yeah, I've been doing bare knuckle fights since I was 15 years old. Why not, go old school? So
So you going from MMA to bare knuckle? Was there a learning curve?
Yeah, I would say the striking and like the guard. The guard is always a little bit different. The rule set,
Uh-huh.
going in, being able to do some clinch, but you can't do, like the like two hands behind the neck, and you gotta, keep your guard kind of tight, and like there's some things that are different, obviously, but I think ultimately, I mean, it's pretty much the same. I mean, if you like striking and you're good with your ins and
Mhm.
your outs, and um, if you've got grit and you can get in there and you're okay with getting bloody and getting cut up, ultimately, fighting is fighting. You got to have that
Yeah.
dog in you regardless. So, I'd say it's really all in all the same as long as you know the rules. You know what you can get away with and what you can't.
So you were 3-1 before you came into BKFC. Now, how'd you end up in BKB, which I think was BYB at the time, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so BYB kind of just like came across our like I didn't even know BYB existed until I don't even know what happened. I was just looking at bare knuckle fights. Like I had went to tryouts for BKFC. I got a contract. It was through a management company. I didn't need a management company, so that kind of fell through. And I still was
Okay.
interested in bare knuckle, so I was looking at bare knuckle fights and just came across this trigon, this triangle, and you're like, "What the heck is this?" And you just kind of start looking into it, and you just, you get enthralled with it, and the whole um, really, I love the idea of like the close counter fighting with the trigon versus like the larger like octagon or squared circle. And so, my coach reached out, and they were real interested, and we just kind of did some negotiating, and we just we got a contract, and went balls to the wall, did what we could, and BKFC just ended up being another opportunity after BYB. So, we just went with that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that about the rings because I was going to ask you about that because, when I interviewed the CEO of BKB, he basically was talking about, the rings. Like that's what they kind of put down BKFC for is the ring. Like people they say you could just run so far in the ring and stuff, and that triangle
Mhm.
ring, you got to really get into it.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah. So, I watched a fight with, I guess it's Ar Aaron's Aris
Paris
Nestle,
Nestle.
yeah,
Mhm.
Torres.
Yeah, yep,
So, it seems like you really, really like the clinch. Is that correct?
I do. I went into that fight, not really thinking I was gonna do a whole lot of clinch. I was
Mhm,
gonna try to work a little bit more on my ins and outs, but she just kept ducking so far under and so low. It was just real easy for me to just put my hand behind her neck and just do the single arm plum and just, keep touching her. We
mhm.
worked just a lot on touching, just hitting and just touching, being accurate with our punches. And I thought I was going to do a little bit more like with combinations, but I was just able to, kind of show out with the clinch. So it worked out. But yes, absolutely. I love the clinch. I'm always working the clinch, even if it's not like number one,
Yeah,
part of the game plan. Yes, absolutely. Always working the clinch for sure.
and that seems like that definitely benefits you in the clinch because you were over there just, welling on her face, and it looked like you was running out of energy and, you was exhausted, but you was still welling and welling and welling until she pretty much got bloody on that one.
Yeah, I was actually pretty tired after the third round. My coach even said it looked like I took the fourth round off, and then I went balls to the wall again on the fifth round. I thought it was gonna end up being over in the third round.
Mhm.
So I just kind of just kept, touching her, touching her, touching her. And I learned a lot in that fight, as far as, like muscle endurance and being able to
Okay.
throw so many combinations, like in so many punches. It doesn't matter if you hit hard, doesn't matter if you're just touching them, that endurance, it can wear out regardless. So, I learned a lot in that fight. That was a good fight. I enjoyed sharing that space with her. That was a good one.
Now does bare knuckle can it seem to be, like, more exhausting than, like, other combat sports as you go further into the rounds? Because it seems like when guys be 4th or 5th round or women be 4th or 5th round, y'all really gassed.
I don't know. I feel like more recently I've been doing a lot more conditioning.
Mm,
I think for me it's about like being nervous and, like
okay.
being in front of a larger crowd. Like just the opportunities that are in front of me. I tend to sometimes get stuck on that, and I think that can probably play a little bit into getting a little tired faster. But I always call it your first wind. If you're not used to that, you're not used to fighting through that, then yeah, I mean, that can make or break a fight regardless. I was just talking to my coach about that. It don't matter how much skill you have. If you don't got gas
Yeah.
in your tank, it's over. So, we've been doing a lot of conditioning with, cardio, doing like masks and breathing treatments in and out of your nose, really exhausting the lungs, high elevation training. And I think that's honestly probably one of the most important things when it comes to being a fighter, especially in bare knuckle. I don't know if it's more exhausting, to answer your question per se. I think it's just a lot more fast paced.
Fast
It's kind of
paced.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like when you're running a sprint versus like jogging. I think it's just more fast paced, and sometimes it can just get to you.
Yeah, I interviewed somebody and the way they explained it is boxing starts out slow and gets fast. BKFC or bare knuckle starts out fast and then it gets slow towards the end.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So you also fought for the title in BKB. I mean, you didn't win, but what do you feel like you learned from that fight?
I feel like I learned a lot about the actual sport, like as far as like the knockdowns are concerned,
Uh huh.
what the judges are looking for. Like aesthetics actually do mean something when it comes to this sport. Um, my hair was a big deal. Getting caught and getting cut is a big deal. Even if you're just walking through punches, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
You got to be able to cut them if they cut you. Damage is important in bare knuckle. And I think as far as the rule set, I learned more in that fight compared to any other fight when it comes to the rule set and what the judges are actually looking for.
What do you think the judges are actually looking for?
So I think, well, I know what they're
Okay.
looking
Well,
for. They're
yeah. What do
looking,
you? Yeah.
yeah, so they're looking for, effective aggression. It's not necessarily how many times you hit your opponent. It matters on the effectiveness of the striking.
Okay.
And if you and your opponent are throwing the same amount of effective strikes, then the judges are looking for effective aggression. And so there's a difference for me now versus then. I thought effective aggression was just as important as effective striking, but ultimately it's not if your opponent is out striking you. I mean, some people might go, well, duh, but if you're controlling the ring and you think you're picking your opponent apart,
Uh
but
huh.
they land one good strike and it cuts your face open and you start bleeding, the judges are going to see that your opponent, it doesn't matter if you were controlling the ring or not, your
Yeah.
opponent just sliced your face open. So they just won the round.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's more or less what they're looking for.
And when you say you said would you how do you say it again? Something aggression. What do you mean by
Effective
that?
aggression,
What does that
meaning
exactly
like,
mean?
so that's more like, I'm trying to end the fight. So I'm not just pushing the pressure
Okay.
just to, look like I'm pushing the pressure. I'm not
Yeah.
just dancing in the middle of the ring just to, say that I'm controlling the center. Effective
Okay.
aggression is me coming forward and trying to land strikes, and trying to hurt you versus, and I mean, I'm sure there's some legalities there, but you know what I'm saying? Effective aggression versus me just, you know, trying to look like I'm doing something versus I am
Yeah.
actively doing something. Yeah.
Pose it somebody, like, just dancing around the ring and not really trying
Yeah.
to get in there and mix it up,
Mhm.
which you see a lot of
Yeah.
that in bare knuckle, and I'm like, "Dude, it's a bare knuckle fight, man. What do
Yeah.
get in
Yeah.
there."
Yeah. Or recklessness, like sometimes there's too much recklessness. I don't think that that would be seen as effective aggression.
Okay.
Um, I can't remember who it was. I think it was like, the dude that's getting ready to fight Polly in BKB. Like sometimes he just gets so reckless, like for no reason. And, like I don't think that that's effective aggression. But again, though, effective aggression doesn't mean anything if you're getting outstriked. Like, if you're
Yeah.
getting hurt, if you keep getting hurt on the outside or getting hurt on the inside, that's what the judges are really looking for. It's, and so yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I mean that was a big learning curve fighting Agnesa. So yeah, that was a good fight too.
So let's get into this Taylor Starling fight. Do you feel like this matchup favors you?
It's a bare knuckle fight. I think it could go either way, but I know what I'm gonna do to win the fight. I know what I have to do to win the fight.
Mhm.
I think that there's ways obviously that she can win the fight and there's ways that I can win the fight. But because I'm short, I know that I have an advantage. I've been short my whole life, but I'm sure she could probably
Me
say the
too.
same thing because she's tall. She could
Yeah.
probably say, that she has, the advantage. But being center of gravity a little bit, lower, I'm coming up, it's it's gonna be a good fight. So as long as I can stick to, my game plan and I can keep my cardio good and, we can keep the pace up, I think it'll be in our favor.
I mean, how much does like the height and the reach advantage play a part in bare knuckle?
I mean, it plays a big part if you don't know, if you don't know how to stay on the inside or if you don't know how to
Yeah.
fight at your range. Um, we'll see. I mean, Taylor's a really good fighter. She's aggressive. She doesn't have to throw power shots to be able to land effectively. Um, so I think for me, it's just going to be accurate. I have to be very accurate with my punches. I'm going to have to stay on the inside. We'll see where the clinch takes us. She's got a good clinch too. Um, honestly though, I'm excited to get in there and just put my hands on her. So I mean, anybody could say that. It's Taylor Starling for crying out loud. This is Killer B. I get to put my hands all over this girl.
Yeah, and the fact that she actually does well, she probably won't be doing it at Sturgis, but she does all the interviews now at all the events. So
Yeah,
the company definitely has like, tries to keep her heavily
stalking her.
involved and push her out there and whatnot.
Yeah, they do. They got a lot of stock in Taylor Starling. My bet is that after me and her get done fighting, she's not going to fight again.
And that's the thing. I mean, she's coming off a lot of losses, so she needs a win pretty bad, I would think.
She does. And and I know how it is to be hungry. She's going to be hungry. I think she's going to feel a little deprived. So she's going to come out and I think she's going to be real hungry. She's going to try and, finish me soon. She doesn't want to go 5 rounds with me, I promise. So, we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking for a 5 round fight because I just like to fight. They're 2 minutes. Why not have a 10-minute brawl?
Yeah.
To me, I'm not trying to go in there for 20 seconds and like raise my hand and go, woo, all this training for 20 seconds. Like I'm really trying to put my training to the test. I love throwing hands, love getting nasty, love bleeding, making people bleed. And we're just ready for this. Like she's going to be in the best shape of her life. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. I mean, we're going to put on a show. Hopefully we get fight of the night. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be in front of 50,000 people. I mean, this is Sturgis, South Dakota. This is like one of the biggest events in the entire country.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be awesome. I'm just real stoked about it.
Well, I think the women always have an advantage to get fight of the night because a lot of y'all's fights do go the distance a lot more than the men's. And as long as y'all throwing blows and some blood and some, faces get bruised, I mean, it gives you really good odds because dudes are always trying to go in for the knockout as much as they can. And when that don't
Mhm.
work, you know, you got to put on a good show. And that's another thing, you can lose and still win in this sport because, how you win and how you lose is important. I mean, you could win and it'd be a boring fight and,
That's so
you might
true.
not be getting another fight.
That's
But you
so
could
true.
lose and really put on a great performance, and you're
Yeah.
getting fights like crazy, you know?
I mean, I think that's the story of Taylor Starling's career. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's 4-4, and she's coming off of 2 losses. I understand I'm only 1-0 with BKFC, and and I respect that. people are looking at it like I've only got one fight underneath my belt, but I mean, this is going to be my sixth fight. I feel like I've only lost, which this isn't a feel. I mean, this is truth here. You know, I've only lost to a world champ. And
Yeah,
I think that she's going to underestimate me, and that's fine. Everybody always does. You know, I like being the underdog. But you're right. It does matter how you win, and it does matter how you lose. And I think that all of my fights have been pretty active. You know, I don't think I've really had a boring fight. Um,
I
but
agree.
maybe. Oh, well, thank
No,
you. I
I
was gonna
was
say
watching
maybe
your
I'm
fights. I
biased.
was watching your fights, and I was like, "Yo, she likes to clinch," which really shows a making of what could be a good fight. You know, there's gonna be a lot of punches to the face. Somebody's probably gonna get an eyeball swollen or bruised up. There's probably gonna be blood. You know, I mean, because clinching has a lot of advantages. It's good on the offensive, and it's good on the defense. When somebody's tearing you up, you could clinch to kind of, gain your
Yeah,
composure back and whatnot. And then
yeah,
it's good for point. It's good for points too. Like you were talking about the judges earlier. If you get in there, clinch and start throwing some blows to the rib, and then rib shots. I don't bare
yeah.
knuckle, but they look like they can cause some damage.
Yeah, they can. I take pride in conditioning my body. You know, I do a lot of body shots, and we do a lot of conditioning with the body, doing bare knuckle, punches to the kidneys, liver, ribs, all that fun stuff. Because you're right, if you're not ready for that, then body shots, they can hurt. There was a time where, I didn't train for like 4 weeks, and we get back into the gym, and, my coach and the guy I train with, his son starts throwing blows to my gut, and it was like devastating. You
Damn.
got to train that. If you don't, then it's awful. But nowadays, I don't know. I just feel like if you're conditioned, you can take a lot of damage. And that's what people want to. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see. I mean, I get the knockouts, but knockouts to me are only cool to watch if you know you're watching two very skilled fighters, and one of them gets knocked out. If you got some sloppy dude in there that's going in with somebody that's like 6-0 or whatever, that of course you already know what's going to happen. Those fights aren't so exciting to me. But I think me and Taylor Starling going in there, God forbid one of us gets knocked out. Shoot, yeah, that's definitely going to be epic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Cause it doesn't happen a lot with the women, and I think most bare knuckle fans like that are, especially if they're buying tickets to the show, I think they want maybe one knockout here, one knockout here. But if they use knockouts through the whole thing, I think they're gonna be wanting their money back.
I mean, they do though. I was just on a card. My first BKFC. Wow, that was crazy. Every single fight ended in knockout, if I'm not mistaken, except mine.
That's crazy.
Every single one, but people love it. I mean, they really do love it. I mean, for me
Yeah,
to sit here and, yeah, of course people want to see knockouts. I
they
just
do.
I just look at it like I said this to somebody else too. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm built different. I'm trying to go in there and I'm trying to brawl. I'm not trying to knock somebody out because I'm not trying to get knocked out. I mean,
Yeah,
we go 100%, but I'm going in there 100% with the expectation that you're going 100%, and I'm at 100% with my health and my fitness. And I think you should be too. Like, I deserve that respect. You deserve that respect. We're both getting paid and we both want to put on a show. Nobody wants to get knocked out. So, it is what it is, but it happens, of course. I mean, whatever.
is it
You get back up.
is this gonna be the largest crowd you fought in front of?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. They were talking about 50,000 people per day, over 700,000 people within 10 days.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, this Sturgis is huge. Huge. So many MCs.
yeah.
People are coming from, all around the country, and they're not just coming for the fights though. They're
They're
coming
coming
for the
just to the
concert,
event. Yeah,
the event itself in general. Yep, yep, absolutely. There's so much going on in Sturgis. They're even having like a tattoo contest on Sunday, but I think it's special that we get to do it on that Saturday, which is it's the second day of the event. So we're kind of opening Sturgis weekend. So I think it'll just put a good vibe, good energy for the following week.
and as a diehard Sons of Anarchy fan, I can confirm that the MCs love bare knuckle and fighting and stuff.
Okay.
You
Yes.
know, they're like them dudes be starting bar fights all the time, probably.
Oh shoot. My mom, I was, talking to her, and she's looking up all these things, and we ended up finding out an average of 14 people pass away in Sturgis during the event.
Damn.
annually. They weren't being very specific, but on how, but maybe one of them is from like a bar fight or,
There's no telling
I'm
with
sure there's
bikers.
something crazy going on all week long, so, but
I
yeah, God forbid that does happen this time. Maybe the energy will be a little bit different and so many people won't pass away.
so I got one more question. We're gonna let you do shout outs for your sponsors or whatever. What is something about you that your fans might not know?
I own and operate a nail salon 4 days a
Okay.
week. So
Okay,
I don't know if
that's
people
a
know
good
that.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
don't
a
know if
good
people
one.
know that. Yeah, so, and then yeah, I work part-time in a recovery, facility with men. It's a 30-day inpatient. Uh, you know, Most women, we wear many hats, and that's a couple of my hats.
Now, do you guarantee wins?
What's that mean? Guarantee
Like, are you
win.
guarantee a win this fight?
Guarantee win. I mean, I'm a realist. I would say no, I can't promise a win, but I'm
Okay.
going out there to win, if that makes
Okay.
any sense.
Okay, I had to ask because some people get on here and the dudes, man, they kind of they narcissists, so they always try to guarantee wins.
I mean, I've just been in so many fights. I know how they go. You got to be smart. You got to be tactical. You don't know what your opponent's going to do. I'm going to be on my toes the whole time. I'm going to be ready for whatever it is that she's going to bring, and and I'm going to bring it 100%. So I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. I always am. I always work hard. And the goal is to always win.
And
So,
this the co-main event too, right?
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super exciting. The last time I was the co-main was my title fight for
Okay.
Ignessa in Florida was my last co-main. So
Well, before we let you go, any shout outs you want to do for sponsors, anything?
yeah, I mean, I'm always representing, stopping gun violence and stopping fentanyl. My sponsor, Kevin Oliver, he's helped me throughout this whole fight camp. He's got my uniform, which we're waiting on. I'm really excited about my uniform. Um, we're going to be representing the full armor of God with my uniform, the
Okay.
veteran from World War II. I don't think a lot of people know that, Sturgis was actually built on the backs of World War II vets
I didn't know that.
coming to, yeah, so they came to Sturgis um, because of Poppy. Poppy, he opened up the bike shop after he inherited an ice company. And during that time, was when Freon was made. And so, he knew obviously he wasn't going to make a living selling ice. So he opened up a bike shop and ended up turning into this event. He was way before his time with the local events, raising awareness. And what happened is, these World War II vets, I mean, they started riding bikes. I mean, that was kind of the whole thing. They were coming and telling Poppy about, like their PTSD and their mental health. And, this was before the pharmaceutical companies had their hands in all these things. And I just think that it's really cool. They had like the camaraderie out there in
Mhm.
South Dakota. And, here we are going out there, and I want to give props to the vets. So we're going to be repping some camo. And, then of course, not just the full armor of God, but also the stopping fentanyl and stopping gun violence. So all that's going to be wrapped in one. And I don't know if I can look and see. I was going to give the name of the person that ended up making my uniform for me. But I don't have it off the top of my hand, but I'll have to make sure that I post that. But yeah, I mean, huge shout out to Kevin Oliver for just kind of being by my side, after losing his sons to both of those epidemics, that are taking our youth right now. With the 4th of July just passing, there was just so many horrible incidents happening with gun violence. People are just out here in the streets. These parents aren't watching their kids, and they need to keep their kids inside. They need to educate their kids, and they need to care a little bit more. I understand that we all have our own worldly desires, but sometimes we need to step back and we need to do what's right and keep our kids at home. So yeah, huge shout out to Kevin Oliver for kind of just opening my eyes to some of these things that are happening, and helping me become a better mom, and just a better human being, and with awareness. So yeah.
Y Yeah, I got a friend out here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where he does, helps out with fentanyl and stuff like that. Cause he both his brother and his younger sister, they both OD'd on fentanyl and whatnot.
Yeah,
And
it's too
so
common these days. Too
he's
common.
dedicated his whole life to that, really just trying to. And fentanyl is, I mean, you could just barely breathe it and
Yeah,
you could OD off of it. So it's definitely
yeah.
dangerous.
It is because, people might have a drug of choice and it's got nothing to do with fentanyl, and if it happens to be laced with fentanyl, that's the
Fentanyl,
problem
yeah.
because their tolerance isn't up. There's people out here that do have the drug of choice of fentanyl, and that's different. Not that I'm condoning addiction, but I'm just saying it's obviously more dangerous for somebody that doesn't do it. So you're right. You
Yeah.
breathe it in, you're gonna die. You touch it, it gets in your skin, it gets into your bloodstream. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna need
And
to
they
be.
never know it's in there because nobody's telling you, hey, it's fentanyl in here. They're just
Yeah,
cutting it with
yeah, it's
fentanyl and
cheap.
selling it.
Yeah, yeah, it's cheap. They're trying to make a profit. They're not looking at the repercussions. Life is just not valued anymore. So
Yeah.
it's sad, but it's good that I think that more people are talking about it because, like, my son, he's 15, and he's got a whole different view on even doing vaping because of all the stuff
Okay.
that's in vapes nowadays.
Yeah.
And his friends, he's even talking to his friends about it. He was showing me a post on Instagram that he made, and he was talking about all the cons from, smoking the vape. And I thought, you know what? That's awesome because that's what it's going to take. It's going to be the youth talking to the youth. They got to lead by example. So yeah.
Yeah. All the man made drugs are the worst.
Yeah,
And vape
absolutely.
vape is definitely a man made drug, and fentanyl, all this. I mean, coke comes from leaves, but they manufacture with so many chemicals and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless you're growing it in your own backyard. No, you're not wrong.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out. Definitely gonna make sure I put out a bunch of clips, and I'm gonna be tuning in. Can't wait to see this fight. And you gonna be
Thank
watching
you.
the fights this weekend?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it this weekend already? It's coming up
Yeah,
so fast.
Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. The Florida card.
Oh, okay, yeah, and they got another card too the following weekend, I believe, as
Philly.
well.
Yep, Philly.
Uh, I'm looking forward to, I think Roman's fighting. She fought I got Natalie
Yeah,
Gage.
she's
She's
fighting. Yeah,
a
she's fighting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited to watch her fight. But yeah, there's gonna be there's always good fights. I mean, it doesn't even
Yeah.
matter anymore. You watch the fights, they're all good. So yeah, I'll be tuning in. Absolutely.
All right. Well, you a friend of the show? Anytime you want to come back on, announce any fights or anything, just let me know.
All right, Paul. Thank you for having
All
me.
right.
That was fun. Appreciate your
All
time.
right. Enjoy your day.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
Well, there you have it. Shelby Boom Boom Cannon. We'll be fighting at Sturgis. As you heard, it will be the biggest crowd she's fought in front of. And, of course, you got Gogo versus Lane is the main event, and she will be the co-main event versus Taylor Killer B Starlin. And you got a lot of other fights in there. You got David Simpson, who I interviewed on the show, versus Brandon Conley. Good friend of the show, Zach Kalmus, my first interview actually ever in bare knuckle, versus Corey Willis. And you got Cheyenne Bentliff versus Marisol Rulas, it looks like. And so you got two women's matches on this card, which you normally don't get in BKFC. Jay Kerr versus Dylan Bladen. Trayvon Kroger versus Daniel Pettit. Bear Hill versus Iman Williams. Dan Godoy, Godoy versus Ruben Arroyo, who I interviewed as well. Go check out that interview. And Elvin Brito versus Jeremiah Scott. I just interviewed Jeremiah Scott recently. Go check out that interview as well. And I've interviewed Elvin Brito as well. That's going to be interesting. And don't forget that I go live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Appreciate everybody that tune in. Savage Combat Sports, what's good with you, my guy? Appreciate you tuning in. Look like Lewis Rumsey tuned in. Appreciate that. He will be fighting as well here soon. And that's in Sturgis, if I'm not mistaken, or Philly card. No, it's the Philly card, my bad. But Looks like Andrew Strode tuned in. Appreciate you, my guy. Can't wait to see that fight. He'll be fighting Cutman G. That's gonna be an interesting one, man. No telling who's gonna take that title home. No telling who's gonna take that title home. But yeah, fight week this week. I can't wait. It's gonna be interesting. Gonna be interesting. I'm really excited to see this Perdomo versus Adams. And all the other, I mean, there's a lot of good fights. So this card is stacked. Florida card is always stacked. This is always the most stacked card of the year, in my opinion, is the Hollywood Florida cards. They just always have the more well-known name BKFC fighters, I would say, and whatnot. So yeah, appreciate y'all tuning in. We about to wrap it up. About to get off here, clip up some of these clips with Shelby Cannon. And make sure y'all tune in. August 2nd, she'll be fighting at Sturgis, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And once again, you could watch it on Amazon Prime if you got it, BKFC app, and Fubo Sports. It looked like my Facebook ended early. Looks like we're having some Facebook streaming issues. So we about to wrap it up. Appreciate y'all. And make sure y'all follow me, Paul Pickett Podcast, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, and millions.co. And the audio version goes to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Stitcher, Slacker, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and much, much more. Peace, and I'm out.